I've just got a couple of seated exercises to finish off with. Again, modifications of what we would normally do laying down or seated in mat work. And again, really handy if you don't have much room or you don't want to get down on the floor for whatever reason. The first one is seated swan dive, so I need to show you this from a side-on position. Swan dive, when we do it in mat work, is all about lifting up through the chest and extending and improving posture through the upper part of the back. So that's what we try and do here, and it's also a good option. I teach this in my pre and postnatal classes for the ladies who are pregnant who can't actually lie on their tummy. So sitting on the edge of a chair with good posture position, again feet hip width apart, lengthening up through the spine. Seated posture is the same as standing posture. We want to sit up nice and tall, but we don't want to be tense and rigid and pushing the chest forward. So just relax and sit back on the sit bones, tailbone here pointing straight down. Gently drawing in lower tummy or pelvic floor muscles and breathing nice and deep. We take one hand to the mid-back and one hand goes along the back of the neck like so. As we breathe out, we let this elbow open up and we push our breastbone in an upwards motion, but we're lifting and extending through the upper part of the back. We're not tilting the pelvis and arching the lower spine. So we exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. And we'll do about 5 on this side, and then we'll change arms. Okay, that's the last one on that side. As I always say with swan dive, it's like being told to stand up in good posture. If you were just standing in a queue or waiting for something and you weren't particularly thinking about your posture, you would generally stand or sit maybe in a slightly slouched position. If somebody then said to you, stand up straight, you would automatically lift up through the top of your head and lift your chest up, drawing the shoulders back. And that's what we're aiming to do in swan dive. So again, other hand here and one hand supporting the back of the neck. So without tilting the pelvis or arching the lower back, focus on just lifting your breastbone. Exhale, inhale. The other thing we do as we do our swan dive in seated position is focus on getting the shoulders back. So you'll see my right shoulder here, draw back as I lift the breastbone. And I'm just using the hand that's supporting my head to make sure that as I lift, I don't do this and push the chin forward. Okay, so there's no movement at the neck. Again, as with swan dive on the floor, we're not tilting at the neck at all and putting any pressure on the vertebrae in the neck. It's all about moving in this part of the spine here between the shoulder blades. So it's getting those shoulders back and lengthening up through the chest. Okay, we're nearly done. Final exercise is seated spine twist. And this is basically the same as we would do it in class. We just sit on the floor. Now we're just going to sit on a chair in case we don't have room to get down there. Or again, if you've got restricted mobility, this would be a good option. So lengthening up through the spine, same position as for the swan dive we've just done. Lower tummy or pelvic floor muscles gently drawing in and nice deep breathing. The arms come up and cross over and we wrap our hands around the forearms. We look straight forward at our wrist with the aim being that the centre of the chest, the wrist and the nose will stay lined up. It's this part of the body that's going to twist. Deep breath in to prepare, and as we exhale we slowly twist, keeping the chest, the wrist and the nose all lined up. Inhale back to the centre, exhale to the other side, and inhale, return. So your pelvis remains very still and you actually move from your waist upwards. It's your rib cage really that you're thinking about moving, so keep an eye on this part of the body. Inhale, exhale, inhale. With this position, just watch out that because you've lifted the elbows, you haven't ended up doing this, you've lost your neck again. We want those shoulders in a nice position, drawing together down the back, nice long neck, and we just keep our eyes on the wrist. And that's basically just to keep everything lined up. The main thing to avoid here on spine twist is that we let the arms and the head travel around, but in actual fact, if you see, the body hasn't really changed position. So the movement has to come from around here as we draw. So as I'm talking, just keep working through your spine twists, and we'll just take a couple more to each side. Don't worry if it doesn't feel like the movement is massive, because we're mobilising through the mid and upper back area. It's not going to be a huge twist like we would get if we were moving through the lower spine. Remember, we're keeping the head in position, so there's no separate movement at the neck. One last time to either side. And then come back to the centre. Whilst we're here, we'll just take a couple of stretches to finish off. So bringing the hands together, pushing them forward and dropping the chin slightly. Just focus on opening out across the top of the back. Drawing the shoulder blades apart, and just take a couple of relaxed breaths there. Let the arms release, bring your hands together around the back. So this time we're drawing the shoulders back, but again, don't arch the back and push the chest forward. Just gently draw those arms back so you open the shoulders in front of you. And release. Leaning over to one side, open the legs a little bit wider, rest the same arm onto the same side leg, and then just take a lean. You'll feel the stretch down through here, but then use the arm to just extend the stretch and you'll feel it moving further up. Again, just take a couple of deep breaths here. Maybe leaning a little bit further into the stretch as it eases off, and then over to the other side. Couple of relaxed breaths just to release any last bits of tension, and coming back to centre, just give the shoulders one last little wriggle and roll out to release. Nice work everybody, thanks for joining me, well done.